Here, what's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube subscribers, everybody else, wherever you're watching this. What's up? How y'all doing? It's No Name. I'm back here with another Giants Talk episode, episode 10. Wow. I really say wow because I started this channel, what, a month ago? And I mean, yeah, it's still small, only 50 subscribers, but the growth is pretty, I like the growth rate we're going at. I like to thank everybody, speaking of growth rate, for checking out my last video, the New York Giants 7-round mock draft. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go check it out. But for everybody that has watched it, I'd like to thank you all. It's currently my best video on the channel. As of right now, the recording, it has over 350 views, and like 200 of those views came within the first day of uploading it. It means a lot to me. Thank you all for checking it out, leaving your comments, leaving a like. You know, put a lot of work and effort into it, and it's nice to see that it was appreciated. So then, for today's episode, we're going to talk about Dwayne Haskins, or more specifically, me clarifying to you guys how I really feel about Dwayne Haskins. Because I realized in just about every video that I talk about him, I actually have two stances. It's either A, I really like the guy, I think he's probably the best quarterback in the draft, or B, while I like him, I would prefer Josh Rosen if we got him for a second-round pick. You know, send over a second-round pick to the Cardinals and we got Rosen. So, I mean, I know that could confuse people, but I also want to get off my chest and just clarify to you guys what exactly are my feelings on Haskins, because whether or not we take him would have a big impact on the team. So, let me just get right to it. So, when we think about the needs of the team, right, our four main needs would be quarterback, obviously, but then edge rusher, right tackle, or you could just throw an offensive line, because honestly it would be center and right tackle, and then cornerback, or just secondary in general, because we only have one safety. So thinking about the needs of the team that way, when you go by positional value, quarterback would be the most important, because without a quarterback in this league, you're not going anywhere. But then when you think about positions, not necessarily positional value, but I guess at least on the Giants, positions of need for a long time. I'm not sure how to say it. Positions of need, or ones that actually have an impact on the team. It would be like edge rusher and then O-line. Because without an O-line, your quarterback can't perform. I stand by that opinion wholeheartedly, and I'm not just saying it because Eli can't perform. You already know that. I think at this point he should be cut, but let's not get too off topic here. Without an O-line, your offense can't perform, basically. And then without an edge rusher, without any type of pass rush, your defense is like exposed, and especially if you have a bad secondary like the Giants do and just a mediocre linebacking core, your defense will be absolutely trash. And then you think about all the Josh Rosen rumors that have been floating around about the league just the past couple of days. You think about, is this team really rebuilding? And then how long rebuilds take? Like generally they take 3 to 5 years. The average rebuild is around like 5 years. And then the assets we have in this upcoming draft, we got 12 picks. What we did in free agency, I mean, honestly, I give a free agency grade like a B- or a C. But most importantly, thinking about past drafts, and that's kind of what prompted me to do this video. Because while I do think Dwayne Haskins is without a doubt the best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion, once again, it's just my opinion. I think he has the best decision making, and I think he has one of the best arms in the draft. And when you got those two things combined, you got a quarterback that could read the field, that could read defenses, tell where it's going to go, and that could place the ball where he wants to place it, where it needs to be placed. You got the makings of a really good quarterback, and I think Haskins has that. And not to mention, he's a good leader. I've seen it on the field at Ohio State. His coaches talked about it, and obviously, with your coaches, they're going to support you. A coach that doesn't support you, especially on the college level, that means there's a problem. But just look at the way his teammates talk about him and the way they behave on the field, in the huddle, on the sidelines, all that shows that he's a good leader. So yeah, you know, while I got that out of the way, I do think Haskins, without doubt, is the best quarterback in this draft. So he passes, you know, he passes a couple tests. when it comes to judging a player, I like to look at stats, but I don't consider that a test. Those are just records. I like to look at the eye test, the tape test, and the gut test. Now, obviously, the eye test, the simplest one, is does this guy look good on the tape that you're watching? You know, does he just look good on the field? Does he look good as a quarterback? Does he look good at whatever position he's playing? And that it ties in with the tape test. Look at the tape. See that if he has good mechanics, good decision-making skills. See if you can see a better play happening on the field, and whether he chooses that better play or he ignores it. And then the last thing would be the gut test, which I think is going to be the most difficult to explain, which is, do you have like some sort of feeling that this dude is it? That this guy is the one for the team. He's going to change the culture around it. He's going to change the winning streak of the team. He's going to change the way we perform as a whole. It's really hard to explain because I'm going to admit right now, the gut test is based off of no facts at all. It's just based off feeling. And sometimes you're not going to have that gut test with everybody. It applies to only certain players. There's been tons of players, for me at least, with the gut test, I've never had the feeling of, oh man, this guy's the next thing. Like, I did not have that feeling with Baker Mayfield last year. I did think Baker was the best quarterback, but I never had the feeling, oh, he's the future All-Pro. He's a future MVP. He's the next Tom Brady. He's the next Aaron Rodgers. I never had that feeling. And just given off of his first year, he could quite possibly be that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, Haskins passes those first two tests, or at least the combination of the first two. He passes the eye test, he passes the tape test. Most definitely passes when you look at his stats, 50 touchdowns. I mean, come on. But he doesn't pass the last test, the gut test. And this is really important to me as a Giants fan, because we need somebody that everybody has a feeling like, oh, he's the next big thing, especially at our quarterback position. We can't get off of Eli or get Eli's successor and then have somebody that's just average. That's not how you do winning. That's not how you make a winning team. But for me, I don't know why Haskins doesn't pass that. I don't have that feeling on my gut that tells me he's the one. I don't have that premonition, I guess you could call it. And the reason I worry about it is because I've had this feeling in the past with players before. Looking at last year, I most definitely had the feeling with Saquon, which is one of the reasons I love that we took him, and one of the reasons I was advocating to take him. But I also had it with Derwin James, who was taken mid-first round, I think, and he's an All-Pro now. Draft before that, I had it with Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson, more so Deshaun because I watched the Clemson versus Alabama final, the college football final that year, and I was like, wow, this guy's it. And the year before that, it was Sterling Shepard and Keanu Neal. I'm glad we picked up Shepard. That's just from the years that I was observing. And now look, I'm not the only person that's gonna go out here and tell you something crazy about a gut test that's completely just based off of like feeling and not any facts at all, right? There's legitimate scouts, professional scouts that know what I'm talking about, and then there's, you know, the everyday people that are like, yeah, I kind of get what you're talking about. And for this year, I didn't have it with I actually don't have it with any quarterbacks. I don't have it with Kyler Murray. Don't have it with Dwayne. Don't have it with Locke. You go down the list, Jones, any of them. I don't have that, but I do have that feeling for Ed Oliver and Josh Allen, which isn't really surprising to me considering the defensive talent in this draft, in my opinion, completely beats down on the offensive talent. So it's just for me, if we're taking a quarterback, I want him to wow me in such a way that I say to myself, I believe this guy is going to be the next Tom Brady. I believe this guy is going to be, you know, the next big thing. I believe he's going to take us to multiple Super Bowls. I believe he could be an MVP and take us to multiple Super Bowls. I believe he could be a top 5 quarterback. And while Dwayne Haskins wows me in every other way, while I still believe he's the best quarterback in this class, while I believe he could be a Pro Bowler, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, maybe top 10. I don't think he's going to be that superstar that wows everybody. I just think he's going to be good. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want a good quarterback. I want a great quarterback. That's just like a convoluted way of explaining why I love Haskins, because I think he's the best out of this year's crop. But if the choice came out to take Rosen, and I do think Rosen and Haskins are very similar, So I'd like take Rosen for, trading our second rounder, keep him for 3 years. If he develops into something like a superstar, keep him. If not, the 3 years that are left in his contract, keep him, then release him and get somebody else. Because I think they're very similar. They're extremely similar. They're almost the same player. So if I could get one of them for a lot less, giving up a lot less, I would take it. That's just, I want to clarify that. And then now, speaking of Rosen, well, let's talk about a little bit. I'm recording this today on Friday, March 29th. I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday. Rumors came out around the league that there were 3 teams interested in trading for Josh Rosen. The 3 teams were the Giants, the Chargers, and the Patriots, with one of the teams already offering a second-round pick to the Cardinals for him. So, yeah, I'm going to address that real quick. Like I said before, I would not mind taking Rosen for a second, but I don't like that, obviously if this is true, and I do think it's true, I don't like that the Giants offered their second-round pick first. And the reason I don't like them offering it first is because I wanted us to wait a bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think Rosen is gonna the Cardinals are gonna keep him all the way until draft day, because then his stock is just gonna plummet. But I wanted us to wait just a bit. I didn't want us to be the first person to offer a bid up out there. If the Patriots and Chargers are serious about this, we already offered a second rounder. If it stays in, like, say, that second round range, nobody wants to offer a first, then yeah, I mean, the Cardinals, their best offer would be to the Giants, and it would be up to them whether or not they're going to give us Rosen. But if it increases from there, and this is why I hope that we waited, because I think the Patriots might, if they're serious, I think the Patriots are our biggest threat. Belichick would have no problem at all just giving up his first round pick, because it's going to be the 32nd overall. That's just 5 picks ahead of our 37th overall pick, the second rounder. He would have absolutely no problem if he wants to get the future quarterback, and he thinks that future quarterback is Josh Rosen. He would have no problem giving up that 32nd overall. That's why I didn't like that we offered first. I wanted to see what other teams are willing to give up for this guy, you know? If somebody, say if it was the Chargers that offered first, they offered like a 3rd this year and a 4th next year. If that was rumor came out, it would have been fine, because I'd be like, oh, we can beat that. We could give them our 2nd this year, and I think our 2nd alone this year would be enough. But if it's not 2nd this year, 3rd next year, now we come into a situation where it's like, since we're the first, the Patriots could just one up us and be like, all right, take our 32nd overall. And then the Chargers, they have the 27th overall pick, I believe. I mean, then it comes down, they could say the same thing, use the same logic, and be like, hey, take our 27th overall. And if it does get into that, then I'll jump ship. I'll get off the Josh Rosen train immediately, because when it gets to first rounders, at that point I'll just take Dwayne Haskins, because like I said, I see them as like the same quarterback. So like, yeah, if it gets into the first rounders, if you heard that sound, I'm just checking off my notes. Then at that point I'll take Haskins at 6 and keep my 17th overall pick, because I don't see the point in giving up a 1st overall for Josh Rosen. The team is shopping him. It could be because, hey, they're taking Kyler Murray. It could be because for some off the field stuff. We know Josh Rosen has some confidence issues. He likes to get in people's faces and whatnot. It could be because of his injury history. He was injured at UCLA, although I will say last year he played with one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and he was tough. He survived every hit and got back up. So yeah, that's my take on the Josh Rosen rumors. I really hope that it doesn't get into sort of a bidding war. The Patriots are like, hey, take a 32nd. Chargers are like, I got no problem giving up my 27th. Because at that point, I think it would be a lose situation for the Giants. We should just take Haskins. And it's not like Haskins is a consolation prize. So, yeah. That's all I got to say today, guys. Not really much happening in Giants news this past week. Since the Odell trade, since the signing of Tate and the Goldens and whatnot. It's kind of calmed down. When the draft happens, I will be putting out videos the day after of my reactions to who we drafted, my evaluations of who we drafted, all that, how they're going to fit into the team. So draft week, you guys probably going to get a bunch of videos, like a slew of videos. But as of right now, until the draft, unless something blockbuster-like happens, kind of boring in Giants news. But thank y'all for tuning in.